Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for visiting my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm new here too. Well, actually this video is going to be all about why I am new here again. Why did I leave YouTube and why have I come back after so many years, after about 8 years. So I want to talk about that today because it's just something I want to have on my channel. I think when I've had such a long gap and then come back and start filming videos, when I look back, I actually want to see, you know, what happened in a few years' time and be able to recount the reasons for why I went missing off YouTube. So this is what this video is about. I started filming back in 2016. That year, I actually had a gap year. So I finished my PhD. I did all my studies like one after the other, so I didn't go back as a mature student or anything. I completed my PhD around, I think, 25, 26 years old. And then I just decided that I needed a break after that. So after I finished in 2016, I graduated. And then 2015 was my Viva though. I had it in December 2015. And then I decided that I'm going to just take some time out because my PhD was very intense. It was intense, not just from an academic point of view, but also from a personal point of view. I went through some difficulties in the lab that I was in. I still remember that. It was very difficult at the time. I think those of you who have been through an experience of doing a PhD in a research lab, you'll know that it's a highly competitive environment and there's a lot of pressure to publish or perish, they call it. So if you're in that kind of environment, you are probably used to the pressure and also the the pressure to publish and the pressure to churn out some research, as well as just being amongst other people who are just as equally stressed, and sometimes that can create some toxicity and difficulty. So I had a really tough time. I actually ended up spending not very long writing my thesis, and actually I do want to make a video about how to write in a very short span of time. I think I wrote my thesis in about 2 months or something, or less than 2 months. And I was just writing about 1,000 words every day. I just had that kind of target to meet for myself so that I knew I could get it done within that time frame. And that's how I did it. But I don't want that video, I don't want that to be the topic of this video today. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about why I stopped making videos. So back in 2016, when I started making the videos, I realized that, you know, that this topic of the PhD, which is what I started with, was one that needed there was a lot of guidance that was being asked for by other PhD students. And I thought the best way for me to help a lot of people all at the same time and make sure that I'm gathering every point is by making a video, and then I can just share it with anybody who asks me any questions about how to do the PhD or how to do an element of it. And so that's what led to my first video. I remember I actually cried before filming that first video because it was really stressful to be on camera, knowing that so many people are going to watch, and then I was just getting really worked up about it and kind of stressed out. But I knew that it would pay off. Like I knew that, you know, potentially thousands of people could benefit. And in the end they did, because now that first video of mine has about, I think, almost 100,000 views. And so, you know, people might ask, when you had almost 100,000 views on your first video, why would you start filming? So basically what happened is I did it for for about 2 months or so. I don't remember how many months I was filming for, but I only made about 15 videos. And then after that year, I had decided that I wanted to go and travel, and I went with my family to a few countries. And then one of those countries was Saudi Arabia. I went on Hajj that year. Wow, this sun is hot. I'm actually not using any artificial lighting here. So this is like natural lighting, and it is warm. That's the sun. But it is great. I love it. And so basically I took a month to go there. So one of the reasons I didn't work that year as well was because I thought it was a childhood ambition to go on Hajj with my parents. So I just felt that if I'm going to do that, then I'd rather just, put my all into it and do it properly. So this is one thing, when I do something, when I set my mind to something, I like to just do it the best that I can. I think video making is a little bit of an exception because I've kind of pushed myself to now come back into this. So the quality of these videos, first few videos, won't be amazing, and I apologize for that. But hopefully with time, when I have some time to actually sit down and get used to using video editing software, etc., then I will start to churn out better quality videos, because I know the audio, etc., is not the best right now. But yeah, so what I did at the time is I went on Hajj, and that was a whole month. And so I knew if I go to any new workplace, no one's going to let me take a whole month off. So I took that time out. And also so a lot of things then unraveled one by one, and back to back. So after I went on Hajj, I came back and I was sort of inspired to treat a long-term condition that I had. So I had very bad eczema, and it was exacerbated and became very severe during the course of my PhD. Now, you won't be able to see that in any of my videos because it wasn't on my face, it wasn't on my hands, so it wasn't apparent, but I had it very bad on my arms and legs, and sometimes on my stomach and a few other areas. But yeah, it was very, very bad, to the point where my skin was like, weeping. And even when I was doing my PhD, I would go to the lab and periodically go to the toilet just to get some paper towels and like dab my legs, because it was like weeping. So there's like liquid oozing out, like clear liquid was oozing out of my skin. And it was just really uncomfortable and really difficult to deal with. When I went on Hajj, it wasn't quite as bad as that because I was using a lot of very strong steroid creams. They're actually cortical steroids and not like proper steroids that people take for the gym, etc., which are really bad for you, but also the cortical steroids that I used were really bad for me. So I came back from Hajj, and then I thought, I think Hajj that year was around August time. So it wasn't soon after I started making the videos. So I hope I don't bore you with this story. And if I do, then feel free to just skip over to the next video. You don't have to sit through all of this. Like I said, I'm not doing this for the views. I'm doing this more for my own record. Actually, this particular video is for my own record. Okay. So that period of time was very difficult. I had a bad skin condition. Usually I found throughout the course of my life is that when I would go to a hot country, it would heal up. Or even in the summertime in the UK where I live, it would heal up. The summer, the sun, and just being, kind of outdoors and having a bit of a break from studies, because stress can exacerbate skin conditions, and it did in my case as well. So just going outside, playing, having fun in the garden when I was growing up, it would always clear up. And even when I was older as an adult, I found that when I would go to a hot country, again, it would start to clear up. But this time round, I spent an entire month in Saudi Arabia, and the time that I went before was for Umrah, and I went there in 2010. And I only went there at that time for about 10 days, but I was fine. Like, I didn't have any major skin issues at all. I don't remember anything at that time. But this time round, it was 2016, and I just remember it just being so bad that even when I was on Hajj and I was using corticosteroid creams, I couldn't keep it under control. And, my skin was weeping even over there. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so bad. I need to do something about it. So when I came back, I started looking into it. I was thinking, maybe I just had this theory. And, when one of the many great things have come out of my PhD, which I started to appreciate more and more as time has gone on. But one of the great things about it is that it kind of taught me how to theorize and hypothesize, and then how to like really deep dive into research and find the answers. So at that time, I started to think that possibly the corticosteroid creams I'm using how long is this video getting? 10 minutes. Okay. I'm going to try and not make it too long. But yeah, the creams I was using, possibly they are worsening my skin condition. So I thought I'd look into this and see what happens if you start to cut back, because by then I'd already noticed that if I don't use a certain strength of corticosteroid cream, my skin will it will rebel, and it went into a rebound, what's called a rebound flare, which is like, you know, you cut back on the medicine, and then your skin will retaliate by just like going crazy, just getting very red, very angry. And so that's what I was noticing as a pattern. And so I started to look into withdrawal. I think I Googled something like withdrawal of steroid creams, and I came to find out about topical steroid withdrawal. This was a fairly new concept back then. I think it's becoming more and more widespread and understood now, but back then it wasn't. And there's another sort of similar term, red skin syndrome. So I basically went through this very difficult period where I decided, okay, I'm going to just do an experiment on myself. And I've been experimenting on myself since then in various areas of health, which I will reveal, you know, one by one in videos. But yeah, my only real health condition at the time was eczema. I've not had any, I'm very blessed from that. I've not had any major health conditions that are, you know, life-threatening or that are, because, you know, of some serious dysfunction. But people don't realize that even a skin condition can be extremely debilitating and even disabling. So I decided to go cold turkey, and I quit using the steroid creams altogether because I wanted to see what would happen. And this is not always advisable, I know, but I just wanted to try it out. And I thought if I start to suffer in a very extreme way, then I can always go back to using them and then just reduce it gradually. Reducing gradually is probably usually the better way to do it, but I was a bit desperate. I wanted to get better as quick as I could. So I just went about it that way, and I stopped using what was called mometasone. And then basically I then suffered the entire set of symptoms of topical steroid withdrawal. And it got so bad that for about 3 months I was bedbound, and I was in a right state. And I just remember thinking, you know, sometimes I just felt like I just wanted to die because it was just so bad. And I thought death will probably be easier than living through this hell every day. Like, it was bad. And what I'll do is, you know, if anyone takes an interest in this topic, then I've been planning to do this for years. I actually wanted to talk about this topic for years as well, but then many people close to me said, don't do that. Talk about it after you get married. What if this becomes a hindrance? And you know what, all these years have gone by, and I've just been feeling guilty all the time because I thought I've sort of cracked the code on, you know, how to handle the skin condition, as have many other people, because I've seen that there are lots of videos on this topic now. I mean, back then there wasn't really much on it at all, but now there is. And so, but my own experience will be different to others because I have my own unique body, my own unique experience, and other people have their own experiences, and then we'll make recommendations according to that. It's the same for me. So I can, and I want to make videos about how to get better and how to resolve these health conditions, because what I've come to learn, which I didn't know at the time, but later on, this is like sort of 2020 COVID era time, is that we are very, our bodies are very toxic. We're constantly being poisoned by our environment, whether it's microplastics, the food and drink, the water that we have, the excessive consumption of sugar, you know, whether it's a high stressful lifestyle. It's lots of compounding factors that can, you know, toxify our bodies. And so our body then becomes overloaded and overwhelmed, and then it starts to manifest these issues as symptoms like eczema. So that's what I dealt with at the time. And I've actually documented all of this. So I wrote down everything that I did to get better. Like, I think I have 2 pages of writing or something on this. So I've got a lot of tips, and you know, I hope inshallah that I will get around to making these videos. I think another reason why I was off YouTube for so long is because I have always been that person who's set very high expectations and standards for myself. So even up until a few months back, I could not envisage sharing a video like this, like a raw video. I'm not really planning to edit this. I hope I won't have to edit it. And I could not envisage myself doing that because I've always set very high standards, and I was looking at many other YouTubers' channels, and you know, they've got these perfectly crafted videos, and I thought, I have to make it perfectly crafted as well. Otherwise, I shouldn't post, I shouldn't make videos. And then I think what that does is it kind of makes you procrastinate. It makes you, it creates an obstacle for you because you just never get around to doing it. So now I have, you know, with sort of training my mind and psyching myself up, I've decided that just get started with anything that you want to do, and then over time you will improve and you'll get better and you'll get the handle on things. You'll start training. I have a lot of these small flies that are coming from the plants around me. Keep waving in my face. Sorry about that. So yeah, this is what I would recommend as well if you're kind of stuck in a rut like I have been. So what happened after that? Okay, so then that lasted for about, now we're going, that was about October 2016 that I kind of went cold turkey. And then it took me, and then for about 8 to 9 months, I was on a very strict self-imposed diet, which worked wonders for me. Like even just juicing greens on its own is extremely healing, and you will start to feel the healing benefits immediately. That's what I found. I actually brought a special cup, like a beaker that's got a lid on it, because I didn't like drinking green. Like, I don't know why, it freaks me out a little bit. So I covered the drink and I used to have that every morning. I just covered it with a top so that I couldn't see the color, and I would drink that every day. But yeah, that's one of the things that I did, which I found to be really powerful in my healing. So then it took me I think up until 2018 was somewhere where I was like 90% healed, 2018. And I got my new job. So I started a job in 2017. That was around February time. And I remember struggling. I was struggling so much. I could barely do that job. I mean, I told the employer, I remember telling my manager at the time that the reason I covered my hands, because at that point, even though I never really had very visible eczema on my hands, but red skin syndrome, it was everywhere. Like, my skin was just red absolutely everywhere. By that time, I even had like a bit of, you know, wrinkling under my eyes, and you could see that my face just didn't look normal. So I was kind of in the thick of the withdrawal symptoms, and I was really struggling with symptoms like insomnia. So I remember my mum actually very kindly traveling with me, because in my job as an account manager at the time, I had to travel a lot. So I was traveling to about 3 different cities every week. Just checking the time, yeah. So I was traveling to about 3 different cities every week, and for someone with insomnia, obviously that's not always the safest thing to do. So my mum would, often travel with me, and we sort of, I mean, she deserves a lot for everything that she did for me at that time. You know, she really gave up a lot. She sacrificed, and she was there for me, because I just don't think there were many other jobs that I could do. But even with this job at the time, I did struggle with it. But the job was more kind of like socializing, so I enjoyed it. It kind of pushed me outside of my comfort zone a little bit, and it made me network and speak to strangers, you know, face to face on a daily basis. And so that was really great, great for personal development as well as professional development. So then I was like busy with this new job, and it used to be so exhausting. I remember like Saturdays just pretty much sleeping all day or trying to sleep. I used to sleep well in the daytime. I just couldn't sleep at nighttime. And I think that's just because the inflammation was just so high at nighttime. We have what's called a circadian rhythm, like the clock in each cell of your body basically dictates how that cell will work at different times of the day and night. So in the nighttime, I was just very inflamed, and I used to struggle to sleep. And I will talk a lot more about these awful symptoms in future videos when I talk specifically about that. So now we're in about 2018. Then I got offered another job. I was headhunted, and I was offered an interview and then a job at another company. And then I went to that company. I was still sort of doing my diet, but I wasn't as strict with it anymore. I think I was pescatarian at the time. And so I was eating fish and vegetarian food because I found that worked for my body the best. And there were some other things that came up, but they're more kind of like, they're more about people that I care about. So I'm not sure how comfortable I would feel talking about those things just yet, maybe in the future. But there were other things that happened and during that time, and they really consumed my life a lot. So I was, that sort of one issue that I'm thinking about culminated in 2018. And then what happened after that? I actually made a list. What I did is I made a list and I wrote down the successes and the challenges in columns, the main things from these last few years since I was on YouTube last, just so I know what's happened. But I can't find that book, so I don't know where I put that. It seems to be misplaced somewhere. But I remember, mentally, I still remember a lot of things from those years. So so now we're in 2018, aren't we? And there were some issues back then. And then 2019 was, I remember that year. Again, there's some things about my life that I'm just not sure I'm comfortable sharing right now. But that year, I remember we went through a renovation project, and it's why the background now looks different to the background in my videos earlier on. It's because we had a whole house renovation project, and it was it was a massive project in which we kind of doubled the size of my parents' house. And so I remember we moved out, and then and this was quite a big headache. It's actually one of the reasons that I think my dad got as ill as he did. And so, not a pleasant topic to talk about. And then 2020, COVID happened. And then I was very interested in sort of talking and researching about COVID and getting to the heart of the matter. But my parents were not so comfortable with me talking about it publicly. So I avoided coming onto YouTube and talking about it, even though I desperately wanted to. I didn't do that. I wanted to, but I couldn't. So I kind of just, and lots of crazy things happened at that time. Like I remember I was on Clubhouse speaking about this, and before I know it, the room just ended, and there were hundreds of people in that room. And it just closed when I started speaking. And so there were things that I saw happen that were not coincidence. I knew that something was happening. And my point of view at that time was not going to be a very welcome point of view. If you look at, for example, Dr. Sunil Dan's videos, then you will see how I think, because I actually talked to him quite a lot at that time. I was like sharing the research that I was finding at the time. And so, my line of thinking about health is very similar to people like him. And also another doctor, Dr. Eczema. These are like two British doctors that I know personally and whose health views that I align with a lot. So, so I was kind of in 2020, busy with sort of just figuring out what's going on. And also my job changed in like how we were working, that changed. And it was a bit more demanding, I suppose, at the time, because everybody was a little bit uneasy about doing a job that normally would require you to be out and about, doing it from home, and still making it seem that you are valuable enough, or that you're bringing value to your job at the workplace. So I felt that there was a lot more demand at the time to produce, certain reports and analyses and all of those things. And then my last bit of travel actually was in 2020 at that time. And then I started traveling again just this year. And this year I've been to 5 countries. I would love to be able to do travel vlogs as well. Just need to sort of get my head around the editing part. But I do really want to do travel vlogs. I did film everything, and I do plan to film everything again on my next journey, which will be to Jordan, inshallah. I do want to film everything then too. But yeah, these are the reasons why. And also because, so I know I came up with many reasons here, but also a lot of it has to do with feeling that you are confident enough to put yourself out there and to be able to talk publicly about whatever it is that you're passionate about, or whatever it is that you want to create. And a lot of videos are just simply very creative videos, and I love watching them. They're entertaining. Mine was more on the education side. Mine's kind of more, I wanted to gear more towards lifestyle and education. So I think for me, I just had to feel that I could share as much as I'm sharing right now. These are the things that I care about, and these are things that I wanted to talk about, but I just didn't feel that I had the confidence, or I wasn't in the place practically in my life to be able to do that at that time. But I feel that I can now, and I'm happy to be back here on YouTube. I want to keep this under half an hour, so I'm going to stop talking in a minute. But yeah, this is kind of a summary of why I went missing off YouTube. And I'm back because I feel secure now in myself to be able to express my views. It doesn't matter if people disagree with them, or they don't like my content, etc. I also feel that now it's a lot more common for people to post on social media. Like back then when I started, it wasn't as common. It was common, but not as common as it is now. I think now most people I know what YouTube is about, or they have their own channels, which makes it a lot easier to put yourself out there because you don't feel that you're going to stand out like a sore thumb. I was never interested in becoming famous. And so if anything, the number of views that I had on some of my previous videos overwhelmed me, because I was like, oh my gosh, that's too much. So yeah, that's another thing. And I think that's it. I'm happy to be back. I have a lot of things that I feel I need to just put out there to the public. There's knowledge that I have that I want to share. I really, really want to share, because I know these videos help and people tell me that they help. And I feel guilty that I just disappeared and I didn't even go back and look at my comments for years after, because I just felt ashamed of watching myself on screen. I was a little bit insecure, quite insecure, I think, for a lot of my life. And I'm a little less insecure now. So I want to use that to the advantage of making more content and just, putting out there what I want to say. I think once you face death, I can say that when I was caring for my dad, that whatever he went through, I felt I was going through. And it made me reevaluate everything, and it made me realize life is very, very short, and it's better to just go for what you want and do what you feel you need to do, or whatever you are feeling is your call of duty. Just do it so that you don't have regrets. And that's why I'm back. That is why I'm back. So so thank you very much if you've been listening to this video. Sorry if my thoughts were a little bit scattered and all over the place, but it's just because I was trying to go back in history, and it's been years since I was on YouTube, so there was a lot to cover. And that's it. So thank you very much again for listening, and see you next time. Bye bye.